Our brain is made up of billions of neurons, and they are connected by junctions known as synapses. And out of these billions of neurons, there are several categories of neurons which are excitatory in nature, and there are also neurons which are inhibitory in nature. Let's just take a moment to look at what do we mean by excitatory or inhibitory nature of a neuron. An excitatory neuron would be those neurons which would be able to elicit an action potential or a spike from its postsynaptic target. Here in the left hand side of the screen you can see the blue neuron is able to squeeze out the action potential from its postsynaptic target yellow neuron. So that means the blue neuron would secrete some excitatory neurotransmitter which would elicit an action potential from its postsynaptic target neuron. Whereas on the right hand side of the screen, the yellow neuron you see, it is failing to give rise to an action potential from its postsynaptic target. Hence, it's an inhibitory neuron. Inhibitory neuron would use inhibitory neurotransmitter, and one of the most popular inhibitory neurotransmitter is known as gamma aminobutyric acid or GABA. Now, GABA would, once released in the synaptic cleft, would bind to either GABA A type receptor or GABA B type receptor. GABA A type receptors are ligand gated ion channels, whereas GABA B type receptors are metabotropic. Now, once GABA bind to the GABA A type receptor, it would allow chloride ion to come inside of the postsynaptic membrane, on the postsynaptic cell. So what would happen is the postsynaptic cell would become more hyperpolarized. In simple word, the postsynaptic, inside of the postsynaptic neuron, more negative charge would build up. So the membrane potential would drop even lower than the resting membrane potential. That means it is going away and away from the threshold for firing an action potential, and that's why it failed to fire an action potential when GABA is the inhibitory neurotransmitter. Now, question is whether GABA is always inhibitory or not, and it turns out that GABA is inhibitory or not, it is determined based on the chloride's reversal potential. Where the chloride's reversal potential is would determine whether GABA would impart an excitatory or an inhibitory effect. It is true that GABA in several early stage of development imparts an excitatory effect. Now, here in the early phase, and rodent data shows that in early phase of development, rodent brain shows that the chloride's reversal potential is minus 40 millivolt, whereas in the postnatal day, in adult phase, the chloride's reversal potential is minus 80 millivolts. So there is a drastic difference in the chloride's reversal potential in both the cases. And why the chloride's reversal potential is different, and what is the effect of it? So in case of a neonatal condition, the cytoplasmic chloride concentration is pretty high because there is a KCC2 transporter present in the neurons are pretty much low in case of neonatal situation or early phase of the development. KCC2 is a potassium dependent chloride transporter. So potassium concentration is more in inside and less in outside. So potassium would generally try to go out, and using that gradient, chloride would also go out. Now here much of the chloride cannot go out because the level of KCC2 is pretty low. That means inside of the neuron, inside of the cytosol, a lot of chloride ion is built up. Now what happens when GABA binds, instead of chloride coming in from outside, chloride is going out. So a negative charge is going out of the neuron. That means the membrane potential is going towards more depolarizing side, and once it crosses the action potential threshold near about minus 40 millivolt or so, it would fire an action potential. So in early phase of development, GABA could have an excitatory effect. But at the later stage of development, in the adult phase, what happens, the cytosolic chloride concentration drop dramatically because the KCC2 expression increases several folds. So once there are a lot of KCC2, what happens is a lot of chloride is pumped outside. That means once GABA bind to the GABA A type receptor, a lot of chloride comes in from the outside. That makes the membrane even more hyperpolarized, and there is no chance that the postsynaptic neuron would fire an action potential. So that tells us that chloride reversal potential is determined by the chloride concentration, and chloride concentration is regulated by the KCC2 expression level. And that is why at the early phase of development, GABA could have an excitatory effect, whereas in the adult phase, GABA doesn't have an excitatory effect. Its effect is inhibitory, and the whole reason is its reversal potential is different and the chloride concentration is different. And all of these factors are regulated by the expression level of KCC2 transporter. So that is why GABA is not only inhibitory, though its main roles are majorly inhibitory, but at the early stage of development, GABA could also have an excitatory effect. I hope you liked my video. If you enjoyed my video, give it a quick thumbs up. Don't forget to share, subscribe. Thank you.